Sorry,
I
I'm
didn't.
asking you all the dangerous questions.
Yeah. I'm being honest with you. I'm being frank with you. I thought it was interesting and original, but I went once you've been exposed as a young child to Bela Lugosi as Dracula. That's it. That's my Dracula.
Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, Hollywood makeup maestro Ed French, who made his name doing movies such as Sleepaway Camp and Blood Rage, as well as Terminator 2 and Terminator Salvation, and Star Trek, The Undiscovered Country. Ed French will speak about these beloved classic icons of the golden age of horror. So very interesting segment today. And if you enjoy it, then please be sure to check out the other segments from this very interview. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment down below, pull up a chair, join in the conversation. Hope you enjoy. Did you ever see Kenneth Branagh's, was it called Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, where Robert De Niro played the monster? What did you think of that film?
I didn't care for it. The guy who, I can't remember the name, I'm going to make somebody mad at me, I think. The fellow who designed that makeup said, in effect, this is the way the monster should look. It's all patchwork. That original one doesn't make any sense. He said something to that effect. It doesn't make any sense. Well, his thing made too much sense. You're looking at it and you're going, stitches and blah, blah, blah. And one eye is one color, this and that. And then again, there's that X factor of Karloff, where you've got this personality behind it and this strange makeup with almost the flat top of the head. And it is a little mysterious, which is a good thing. What's really weird is I worked on a medical show called Grey's Anatomy, where the doctors in real life, doctors had replaced the top of a guy's skull. He had cancer and they replaced the top of his skull. And we had a picture of it. And it looked not unlike Boris Karloff's Frankenstein. The head just looked odd, like it was slightly flat on top. And this was that's what they did for Karloff. It was brilliant.
So cinematically, it just made sense.
Yeah, my memory of seeing the Branagh Frankenstein was that there was just things about it that I disliked, like the fact that his wife there gets murdered and then put back together and looks like a real horror show and all that. It's had nothing to do with the original novel. Now, the original novel, someday that would make a wonderful miniseries. It could be done.
How do you feel about adaptations? I think you spoke about The Haunting of Hill House being a good one, the original movie.
Yeah, Fahrenheit 451 was a good adaptation of a Bradbury's kind of poetic style in a visual sense, very imaginative. So that's a good example of one.
Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula? Sorry, I'm asking you all the dangerous questions.
Yeah. I'm being honest with you. I'm being frank with you. I thought it was interesting and original. But I went once you've been exposed as a young child to Bela Lugosi as Dracula. That's it. That's my Dracula. Christopher Lee was interesting as Dracula. He was completely. He was genuinely frightening. I wasn't frightened at all by this particular Dracula. Again, it seemed to work too hard to be frightening. The Francis Ford Coppola one with all of the teeth and the big furry monster and so forth. None of that compares to me with the way Christopher Lee could go to being kind of a dignified gentleman to this feral-looking, frightening human horror monster. So Christopher Lee gets higher marks as Dracula. Lugosi apparently based his movie performance on what he did in the stage play, which is, I certainly loved it when I was a kid, but looking at it now, I realize that what he did on stage was imitate a corpse. He would be perfectly still in a lot of his scenes, almost stiff. And that was a deliberate choice. It's up to the individual viewer whether they kind of dig it or not.
By the way, what did you make of the Wolfman, the Lon Chaney Jr. one?
I think it's a very good movie. I think Chaney is very good in it. It's a real downer, isn't it? I mean, the ending. But it's a classic, obviously. I mean, I'm looking at it as an adult in later years. I go, how could Lon Chaney be related to Claude Rains? I mean, it's like, what the hell, that doesn't make sense. But the actors are so good; they make sense. Maria Ouspenskaya owns the movie, and Chaney has a wonderful feral quality when he turns into the Wolfman. It's kind of interesting. I I met his grandson, Ron Chaney, years ago, and we recreated the Wolfman makeup on Ron. I was fascinated because he had color photo of the original makeup on his grandfather, and so that kind of drew me into it, and we recreated it. Then we went out in my yard, and I started to take some pictures, and I thought, this isn't coming across. What's wrong? Well, oh, he's not acting it. I said, come on, man, ham it up now. Just get crazy looking, because he looked like that little teddy bear on the Munsters that Eddie Munster was carrying. He was just cute looking. But once he got into it, we took some pictures. We had a good Wolfman. But it made me reflect on how great Lon Chaney Jr. was. I mean, he you watch him and he pours it on. He knows he's got to work that mug. Well, we could get into a long discussion about how his father, Lon Chaney Sr., was astounding. I mean, he was of course a force of nature. You look at any picture of him, even when he's just walking around or something, he's always on. He's a natural showman.
Now, Ed, I don't want to take up too much more of your time because you've been an absolute star. And it's been...
I want to give you some material that you can cut out the stupid stuff.
No, there's really very little stupid stuff. There's and the stupid stuff comes from me. Trust me. It's not from you. Definitely not. But I mean, we can carry on chatting. But let me just ask you one or two more. So, if I'm a young aspiring makeup artist and I'm trying to get into the industry today, and I come across Ed French, and I ask you for some advice, what's the advice you give me?
Do the makeup. Take the photos. The photos will open doors for you. If you want to get into special makeup effects, you need to come to Hollywood, and you need to knock on the door of one of the makeup effects labs and offer yourself up while you're still young, and get in there. And I think if you're any good and if you have any ambition, you'll go places. But I've had people call me up and go, can I come in and watch you do some makeup? I'll clean your brushes or whatever. And I said, all right. We talk a while. They seem like a nice person. I said, well, okay. Well, you come out, let's see, you come out to where I'm working at 4:00 in the morning tomorrow. And they never show up, So that's the thing. It's not going to get handed to you.
You got to work for it.
You have to give a lot, and if you have the talent, this town you'll get a job in this town, I believe. And listen and learn. A lot of the young ones that are interested, they come off like hot shots. And be humble.
One more question, official question, and then I got a bit of a surprise for you, Ed. One official question, one more. We always hear about this collaboration between the director and the actor. We were speaking about Robert De Niro, for example, Scorsese and De Niro. Is there a collaboration between the actor and the makeup designer?
Yes and no. It depends on the project, of course. Star Trek VI is an example of. I always do my best work when the director kind of lets me go. Nicholas Meyer was a fantastic director, of course. His philosophy was, I at that time I was working at a shop, and he'd have to come out to the shop to look at what we were doing, and he wasn't too thrilled with that. He said, I just want you to do what you need to do, and I know you're going to do a good job. He was very supportive. I just don't want to see any kind of like pink aliens or something, just do it. So I went ahead and I designed these things, and the actors that were in, most of them didn't have too much to say about it. The one that did was Iman, who we did a life cast of, and we weren't sure what to do with her. She didn't want anything glued to her face. She didn't want to, that was her thing, I mean, we barely got through a life cast with her. But it turned out to be a good thing because the makeup we designed was actually very simple. And but it got across the fact that she was some sort of an alien. It was all done with feathers and a little beauty makeup and contact lenses, which was the only thing that she really objected to. But it was important in the script. If you've seen the movie, the creatures, this particular creature's eyes are kind of yellowish. It mutates into a kind of the beast, like this thing back here. And then it also mutates into a Captain Kirk lookalike, but they all had to have the same yellow eyes.
Is there a movie or a moment in your career that you can look back on and say, wow, good job, Ed?
Star Trek VI, I thought I'd arrived, Oscar nomination, sitting there with all of these famous Hollywood actors and directors, and every craft was sitting in that auditorium, and you really want to win when it comes down to the finish line, but we didn't. But I'll always have that nomination, and I'll always have the memories of working on Star Trek VI. It was special.
Okay, Ed, this is it. This is the last. We're going into the final round. Are you ready for some quick fire questions, Ed French?
Fire.
Who is the true granddaddy of horror? Edgar Allan Poe or H.P. Lovecraft?
Poe.
Who is the true grandson of horror? Dean Koontz or Stephen King?
King.
The greatest horror novel ever written?
Frankenstein.
Ed French's favorite musician?
Oh my goodness gracious! Now you've got me. Probably Mozart. It comes to mind.
Awesome. If you could bring to the screen, dead or alive, one icon from any genre, medium, or walk of life, who would it be?
Ah, that's a good question. I'm not firing back on all cylinders here with that. I would love to do a historical lookalike again. Maybe even Robert Frost, the poet. I don't know.
If you could do the makeup special effects for one golden era icon, Dracula, Frankenstein, or the Wolfman, who would it be?
I think it would be Frankenstein.
Because you love the character so much, or because it would prove to be a makeup challenge for you?
Both. It's like we were saying earlier, with a T2 or Terminator, will that continue? Well, Frankenstein that will continue. It will be reimagined and rethought forever.
A movie that you've seen more than any other?
Probably Frankenstein and Dracula. I can't tell which.
Who is your favorite movie director of all time?
I hadn't thought of that. I think Kubrick, though. I think Kubrick. I love his movies.
Your favorite snack to watch movies to?
Oh boy, peanut butter.
Great. One more. A bar fight ensues. You can have one person at your side, Ed. Christian Bale from Terminator Salvation, Arnold Schwarzenegger from Terminator 2, or SpongeBob?
Probably Schwarzenegger.
Great stuff.
It's funny. It's a funny guy.
Great stuff. Ed, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on to Den of Horror, and thank you so much for chatting with me. You've been incredibly generous and so interesting to chat to, and it's been an absolute honor, and thank you so much.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you for having me.
Hey everyone out there, I just want to thank you for watching this interview, and I also want to express my sincerest gratitude to Mr. Ed French, the legendary ninja of makeup that you are. It was wonderful having you, witty, knowledgeable, interesting, and I really hope that we get to chat again in the future, and I'm sure that we will. By the way, if your interest has been piqued in Mr. Ed French, then be sure to check out his horror narration podcast. He is a wonderful narrator and he narrates some classic stories. The link is down below. Now, from one Hollywood legend to another, Next time, I will be speaking to the makeup genius that is Bart Mixon. He is the makeup designer behind a lot of the Marvel superhero movies. He also worked on Rob Zombie's horror films, and one of my favorite films of all time, RoboCop. We speak about all of this and more, so be sure to check that out. Stay safe, stay happy, and most of all, stay horror.
Gaze into the abyss.